Yo, Mana Squad, if you like any of the cards you see in today's video, make sure to hit up the affiliate link down below to TCG Player. You can help look up some of your local game stores in the process and help show the channel some love. And you know you got to look good while you play in order to play good. So make sure you hit up our link to Into the AM as well. We have the discount code down in the description below. Look, you got to listen to Kenneth the Heathen. He always says something about dripping in space and screaming. We don't know what it means, but do what the man says. And last but not least, hit up Heavy Play. Heavy Play is going to have some of the nicest playmats and deck boxes out there. Their magnet system between their deck box and dice trays and playmat is amazing, especially if you're playing at like bars, restaurants, stuff like that. You got to get up and move. There is no better way to keep all your stuff together, and you can show the channel some love in the process. Stay petty. Yo, welcome back to One More Mana. My name is Derik, and today I'm here to do two things. One, gotta spread the message that Cooper DeJean is not a safety. He's just a corner that'll lock down your number one. And two, I'm here to talk about my favorite commander deck. So a while back, I did a video talking about, I think it was my top 5 favorite decks. And I don't remember if I said in the video or if it was just a thought I had. I wanted to do this every 6 months to a year as regular check-in points. I just think it's such a cool opportunity, one, to share with you all. Really, I feel like the best way to gauge someone's feelings on the formats, how they engage, is to look at their decks, see the deck list, hear how they feel about it, and it really gives you a portrayal of how do they feel, like power level, interaction. You can learn so much by looking through someone's deck list, and I think it's the coolest thing to be able to, whether it's your friends or creators or anything, really deep dive into their decks and learn about it. Well, I did go back and check, and spoiler alert, I messed up a little bit. That was 3 years ago, so missed 6 months by just a little bit. So I want to get back on this, start doing these more regularly, because one, selfishly, one of the coolest things ever, like you can always go back and look at your deck list over time and see what decks you played, but I feel like the only way you can really track how you feel about decks and like how they make you feel over time is to yell it into a camera and then be able to watch it back and be like, oh wow, so that's how I felt about that deck. This is what made me happy about this deck this many years ago. So I want to take advantage of that, and hopefully y'all enjoyed it in the process. I know me personally, watching my favorite creators and some of my friends talk about their decks is my favorite thing about engaging with Commander. I don't watch as much Commander content as I used to, but if someone posts my favorite deck countdown, I'm a sucker. I'm gonna watch it. Specifically, shout out to Joey from EDH Rec. His like deep dives into his decks are some of my favorite videos, period. It's just, you can sense the joy, and like that is what makes me excited about Commander, is hearing that joy that people's decks bring them. So this part of the rant aside, let's get into the next part of the rant and talk about these decks. So I have 9 current decks that are fully sleeved up and ready to go, not counting precons and things like that. So we're going to rank them from 9 to 1. 9 being probably don't play it a ton, not super vibing with how it feels at the table, to 1, I want to play it all the time. So at number 9, this pains me to say, is Titania, Protector of Argoth. Titania is a deck for the longest time that was my favorite period. One or two for most of my Commander career, and it's insane to see it in last place. Really, the only reason it's still sleeved is because of that history of always being my favorite deck. There's a ghost behind me, hope for my safety. But now it's just there. It's just on the shelf. And I think what it is when I first started, I got into Commander around 2016, 2017, something in that range. When I first started playing Titania, so much of it was a novelty. It was so crazy to have a deck that cared about sacrificing your own lands, and it was so difficult to get it to work. The card draw was fringe, the land sacking was fringe, there wasn't a ton of land tutors. So it felt like very glass cannon, and like you had to work really hard to get it to pop off. Well, fast forward, oh my gosh, it's 8 years. Yeah, it's a whole lot easier now. There are so many, especially for lands decks, whether it's lands entering or leaving, you have every card possible. There's so much card draw in green now. And the deck went from this cool glass cannon puzzle to super OP, super resilient, and by far my most powerful deck. It is a deck that if I play it and I'm not immediately targeted, I will probably win. And not because of any sort of skill I have, just because the deck itself is so powerful. I've tried cutting a lot of the more powerful cards, cutting Cradle, cutting Greater Good. And what I learned is cutting individual pieces didn't matter anymore. There were so many synergistic pieces in the deck. The whole deck was the problem. So it's one I don't want to de-sleeve because I have this like history with it and I've loved it for so long. I'm going to try different versions of putting some of my old decks together. I still have some of those like 2017-ish, whatever it was, deck list together. I might try to just build like a pre-2019 version of it and see if that brings me that joy. but I just can't take it apart. It's always going to be there, but it's just not a deck I reach for. And number 8, this is a combo because I love to cheat. If you've seen any of my countdowns, you know I love to cheat and put multiple decks in one slot, multiple cards in one slot, and it is my Indoraptor / Minsc&Boo deck. So before I left Atlanta, one of my best friends, you've seen him on the stream before, Colby, bought me a full art foil Minsc&Boo that I absolutely love. One of my most like prized Magic possessions. If it's not in a deck, it's always like a hard little case on my desk that I keep next to me while I'm working and stuff. Love that card to death. So I had a Minsc&Boo deck at first, but that thing popped off hard. I played it for like 6 or 7 months. I think I lost 2 games total. That thing just was insane. And no matter how the commander's so powerful, you tweak it is still a whole problem. So eventually I turned it into an Indoraptor deck because I was like, look, I can keep some of those +1 counter synergy, some of the fling stuff that I was doing, add in some damage stuff, and it'll kind of like power it down a little bit. Well, spoiler alert, Indoraptor, super strong. It pops off as well. And what made it even worse was the fact that with Indoraptor, you got into so many situations pre-turn 5 that you're killing a player. And when I play Magic, I only get so many opportunities to play. I don't get to play a ton. I'm usually on spell table with some of my close friends. I don't want to knock one player off and just have them sit there. The whole point is so I can sit there and talk to my friends. So this became a deck that I just spend more time trying to depower than I do playing. So this is almost in a similar situation to Titania. I'm very attached to it. I need to make it work, but it's in a state of limbo that I need to find a way to put it into a bracket of power of vibes that I enjoy more. So it's work in progress, but it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Now at number 7 through 1 are decks that I play a little bit more regularly. Number 7 is a deck I just talked about recently. It is my Edgar Markov, not that Edgar Markov deck. It's the shitty Edgar Markov from Crimson Vow that flips, makes you tokens. And this is just the deck that is my opportunity to play all my favorite vampire arts through Magic's history. It's a slow deck. It's not a powerful deck. And it is just there so I can cast a Sengir Vampire and a Baron Sengir in the year 2024. That's the entire purpose of this deck. I collect cool vampire tokens. This is the deck I play against precons, or if I'm in a situation where I want to catch up with some friends, we kind of just want to use Magic as like a vehicle to like talk. We don't really care about the game. This is the deck to go to. I don't have to think too hard. I'm not trying to win. It's just there's a conversation piece. So for that reason, it's really my one deck that fills that slot, and it's not going anywhere. It might not play it a ton, but it always fills that role. It always makes me smile, and it's the perfect kind of deck to fit in a situation where like I kind of want to play Magic, but I more want to talk. Then at number 6 is my Kumena Tyrant of Orazca deck, and it's wild to say it's a Merfolk deck, but it is probably my second most powerful deck behind Titania. This deck pops off. This is a deck I've basically had since Kumena released. I've had different versions of it. Was Hawkball for a bit, brought it back. It feels the most to me like Merfolk in other formats. Fun fact, the only deck I've ever built for a different format is Modern Merfolk. I love Merfolk in other formats, and it is powerful. It has gotten to a point now with all of the new pieces that you got for this deck that it can pop off. It has so many ways to interact with the board while still furthering its strategy. And now that we have a 3-tree city and a Nykthos and a Cradle, you can have all of these crazy explosive turns pop off, kill the table in ways that you just couldn't do reliably before. So it's gotten to a point where when I pull this out, everyone in my play group knows, okay, get ready. Probably need to attack him first, and for that to be a Merfolk deck, it doesn't matter what format it is, it's both hilarious and it makes me super happy. At number 5, we have Sidisi Brood Tyrant. This is one that was on the original list. I've had this deck forever, and it is literally just the spider spawning limited deck from Innistrad made into a commander deck. It has all of the pieces there. You're just milling all your creatures, dredging a bunch of stuff. You're going ahead and channeling and cycling creatures. You basically, I think it runs damn near 50 creatures, throwing it all in your graveyard. You're either gonna Living Death it, All Hallows Eve it, or cast a spider spawning and have a great time. This is one of my favorites. It's such a cool deck because the whole purpose is you have this little, it's like you're playing a little mini game off to the side where you got your little dice counting creatures in graveyard, just waiting for the chance to spider spawning. It is a great time. If you were somebody that enjoyed that deck back in the day when Innistrad was out, or you're someone who plays Innistrad Remastered now and falls in love with spider spawning, this is a deck to play. So definitely check out the deck list in the description. Now at number 4, there's another big jump here. For 9 and 8, didn't play those decks a ton. For 7, 6, 5, they get played a little bit, not as much. 4 through 1, these are decks that I play a lot. And number 4 is my Food and Fellowship Precon, all the way upgraded with Frodo and Sam leading the way. This is just a shout out to loving Lord of the Rings. I loved all the books, movies, everything growing up. I made sure to fit as many of the surge foils and in-universe cards as I could. I did run some non-universe cards just because there were so many fun synergies. I couldn't stop myself from doing it. But the deck is such a good time, and it just makes me feel Lord of the Rings things. That's the whole purpose of it. It's also a super fun deck, like mechanic wise as well. It fits into such a great place where it is powerful but not fast. You're never gonna pop off, at least I haven't, in turns like 5 through 6 and just kill the table, bam, I win. That's just not the type of deck it is. But once you get to turns 7, 8, 9, you're going to be doing powerful things. And there are so many, because of the incremental damage you can get through in some of the synergies in here, this deck wins a lot of games. You're gaining life throughout the game. You're kind of staying in there in time to get your more explosive late game things. It's a super powerful deck, super flavorful deck. And yeah, any Lord of the Rings people, if you didn't play the Food and Fellowship Precon, give it a shot. I kind of wrote it off at first because like it's food, what can it do? It wins games and it is super fun. Now at number 3, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I've ranted about this card more than anything else this year. It is the Jolly Balloon Man. I love the Jolly Balloon Man. I'm going to link. I won't repeat everything. Link. I made a whole video dedicated to my love of the Jolly Balloon Man with a deck tech and like 17 rants included. If anything, I love this card more now than I did when I made that video. It is perfect. I love him so much. He reminds me of Art the Clown. I Terrifier movie, shout out to anybody that's seen those. I don't know why I enjoy them. But I do. Reminds me of Art the Clown. It's just such a fun deck. It's not similar to the Frodos, the Hobbits. It's powerful, but it's not fast. So like so many games you can play it. It's never gonna pop off, and I don't run a combo version, so it's not gonna pop off and kill everybody fast. But it's going to keep you in games and has ways to close games out. It's a great time. So play wise, look, give it a shot. If you haven't thought of playing a Boros ETB deck before, this is such a fun version. And if you're into spooky clown shit, bam, it's got that for you too. I'll shut up before I can't stop talking about it, but check out the other video. Jolly Balloon Man, not going anywhere. In love with that spooky mother effer. Now at number 2, cheating again. This is a multi-deck thing, but at number 2, these are my Transformers decks. I love. So this Transformers is what completely turned me around on Universes Beyond. I wouldn't say against it, but I was so negative. I was so grumpy with Universes Beyond for the first while when it released. I was not on board. Thought it was like, this isn't Magic. Like that was my exact impression of myself. And then I saw Transformers, and if y'all, man, I love Transformers. Like I grew up in the Beast Wars era. That's how I first got into it. I'm literally doing an active rewatch of G1 Transformers now. I'm a huge Transformers nerd. And so once I got those, I mean, I literally have an Optimus head behind me. I was like, okay, I think y'all got me. And they're just so good. I've had a Flame War deck that is still kind of there. It's very powerful, so I don't play it a ton. I have a Blaster deck that I cannot stop playing with all the modular stuff. I'm sorry, Sed hates modular, but I can't stop playing it because I love it. And because I can't stop building Transformers decks, I'm actually in the process of putting a Megatron deck list together right now. So the deck list that you're going to see in the description has like 130 cards. It's a work in progress. I'll keep updating it. And I'm going to build more. I won't stop building Transformers. I refuse to. I love them. They make me so happy. Mechanically, they're great. I love artifact decks, so I love that they fit different aspects of artifacts. Where like Flame War, you get all the equipment and Voltron stuff that artifacts brings. Blaster let you play modular and do all the cool modular stuff that they do. I've built an Affinity Megatron deck, and I get to lean full on Infinity. It's so good, and that's what I love about him is each of the Transformers represents a different part of Magic that I love, and I've realized like, I might even build a Starscream deck and go all in on Monarch, and it's just the fact that mechanically so many of them fit into my favorite mechanics in Magic. Lore wise, I can sit there on a 2-hour rant about every one of the characters. Yes. At number 2, this is going to be an ever expanding list of my Transformers decks. They're not going anywhere. I love them. And any other Transformers nerds out there, let me know if you have one you want me to build. I cannot say no to that. Now, number 1, my number 1 deck is a fusion of other decks and a fusion of some of my favorites from previous lists. And it is my Sedris, the Traitor King deck. Sedris is the answer to the problem I had of my 2 favorite decks, and they might have been, I think there were 2 of the top 3 in my last video. 2 favorite decks were my Scarab God deck and my Feldon deck. And by far, those were my 2 favorites for, an extended period of time, but it felt like they were doing some of the same things. And so I found myself only playing one or the other, or I could never figure out which one to grab. Then I had the genius idea of like, bam, combine them, make them one. All will be one. And Sedris was just sitting there staring at me, and that's literally what it is. I took all of my favorite pieces of Scarab God, all of my favorite pieces of Feldon, turned it into one deck earlier this year. And it's perfect. I love this thing. It is just giant stompy things. It's self-mill, it's reanimation, it's unearthed synergies. I have all of them, like basically every bomb printed pre-2020 is going to be in there. All the primordials, got Gear Hulks, got Titans. That's what it's about, and I love it. Any deck where Grave Titan is like the featured all-star of it is a deck I'm going to love. This deck is everything. It's big, it's stompy, it can be powerful, but it's super easy to shut down. As said, can remove my graveyard and make the deck do nothing every time. The deck is just perfect for me. It embodies what I love about Magic. It lets me do all the stompy things, play shiny cards, and it's funny because so much of I've fallen in love with a lot of the universes beyond, or the different lore of newer cards like Jolly Balloon Man, and I have the Hobbits. And Sedris really just feels like that OG Magic type deck. It's all the OG Magic type cards, the lore, the vibes. And I think for me, that's always going to be number one. And I see this deck staying in that slot for a long time to come. That is going to do it for this countdown in this week's video. I really hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know if any of these decks on this list are decks that y'all love. I got all the deck lists down in the description if you want to check them out. Some of them are in flux. They might just be like 101, something like that, because I'm constantly making tweaks to these, but I typically keep them up to date. So you'll always have the most recent version if you watch this video in the future and go ahead and look at some of those lists. Let me know what you think, if you like the style of video, and if you do want me to do these regularly, because I love to talk about them and hopefully will not wait 3 years. But yes, plenty of exciting things to come. I know we're going to try to get as many command centers as we can around the holidays, just with everybody kind of flying everywhere. So we will make sure to squeeze some more in. But until then, stay petty.